It was a rainy evening when Claire sat by the window of her small apartment, scrolling through her phone with a tired smile. She had just finished another long shift at the hospital, and her body ached all over. The only thing that kept her spirits alive was the thought of her best friend, Jasmine. For years, Jasmine had been her safe place, the one person who seemed to truly understand her. Whenever life grew heavy, Jasmine was there, reminding her that she wasn't alone. Claire often said, half joking, that Jasmine was the sister she never had. And in return, Jasmine promised, "I'll always have your back, no matter what." Those words lived in Claire's heart like a promise carved in stone. That night, as thunder rolled across the sky, Claire's phone buzzed. It was Jasmine. The message read, "You won't believe what I just found out. Call me. It's urgent." Claire's chest tightened. Jasmine never sent messages like that unless something serious was happening. Without hesitation, she dialed her number. When Jasmine picked up, her voice shook. "Claire, I don't know how to tell you this, but I saw Mark with another woman tonight." For a moment, Claire froze. Mark was her boyfriend, the man she had been with for nearly 3 years, the man she thought she'd marry. Her voice cracked. "What do you mean, another woman?" "I was at the bar with some co-workers," Jasmine explained quickly. "And there he was, sitting with her, holding her hand like she was the only woman in the world. They left together. I'm so sorry you had to hear it from me." Claire's throat tightened as tears burned her eyes. "No. Mark wouldn't do that. He's been working late all week. He said he was exhausted." Her voice trembled, but deep down, doubt had already started creeping in. "Claire, I wouldn't lie to you," Jasmine whispered. "I love you too much to let you stay in the dark." The words stabbed through Claire's heart. She hung up, her hands shaking. The room suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too heavy with the weight of betrayal. For hours, she sat in silence, trying to piece together all the nights Mark had come home late, the moments he had seemed distant, the excuses that once made sense but now sounded like lies. When the door finally opened past midnight, Mark stepped in, drenched from the rain. He smiled faintly at her. "Hey, babe. You're still up?" Claire stared at him, her chest heavy. "Mark," she whispered, "where were you tonight?" He hesitated. Just for a second, but it was enough. She saw the flicker of guilt in his eyes before he forced a casual grin. "I told you, I was stuck at work." Her heart sank. She wanted to believe him, but Jasmine's trembling voice echoed in her ears. "I wouldn't lie to you." Something inside Claire broke that night. She didn't confront him, not yet. Instead, she smiled faintly and said nothing, hiding the storm that brewed inside her chest. But deep down, she knew her world was about to change forever. Claire had always been the strong one in her family. Growing up as the eldest of 3 children, she had learned to carry responsibility early. Her mother worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table after Claire's father walked out when she was 12. From that moment, Claire promised herself she would never depend on anyone the way her mother had depended on a man who abandoned them. She studied hard, pushed herself through nursing school, and became the kind of woman people admired: calm, hardworking, dependable. But underneath her strength, there was always a quiet fear of being left behind. That fear made her cling to the people she loved, even when they showed signs of hurting her. And that was why she held on so tightly to Mark. Mark was charming, with an easy smile and the kind of confidence that made people trust him quickly. When they first met at a friend's birthday dinner, Claire felt like she had finally found someone who would stay. He knew how to make her laugh after her long shifts, and he spoke of the future as if it already belonged to them. She let herself believe in him. Jasmine entered Claire's life much earlier, back in college. They had been roommates, and their bond grew stronger over the years. Jasmine was bold where Claire was quiet, outspoken where Claire was careful. She was the kind of friend who would walk into your home uninvited but bring your favorite food with her. Claire often leaned on her for advice, for comfort, for reminders that life was not only about work and responsibility. Still, Claire's world had always been heavy with pressure. At the hospital, she worked endless shifts, often sacrificing sleep to cover for others. She told herself it was worth it, that every sacrifice meant security, stability, and proof she could never be like her father, selfish and unreliable. But the more she gave, the lonelier she often felt. And now, with Jasmine's shocking words about Mark replaying in her head, Claire felt her carefully built life slipping. She had built everything on the idea that loyalty mattered, that hard work and love would be enough to keep people close. If Mark was betraying her, then what did that say about all the nights she stayed up waiting for him, all the trust she placed in him, all the dreams she shared? The weight pressed down on her chest. She wanted to believe she was wrong, that Jasmine's eyes had deceived her. But the truth was harder to ignore with every passing second. Deep inside, Claire knew she was standing at the edge of something she could not control, and if she fell, everything she believed about love and trust might fall with her. The next evening, Claire's phone buzzed again. It was Jasmine, asking her to meet at a quiet cafe near downtown. Claire almost said no, her head was still heavy from the night before, but something in Jasmine's tone made her uneasy. She agreed and took a cab after work. When she walked in, Jasmine was already waiting, her face pale and tense. She slid her phone across the table. On the screen was a photo, Mark, holding hands with the same woman Jasmine had mentioned, their faces close, smiling like they were in love. Claire's breath caught in her chest. It was no longer words or suspicions, it was proof. She felt the air leave her lungs, and her eyes blurred with tears. Where did you get this?" she whispered. "I followed them," Jasmine admitted. "I didn't want to believe it either. But Claire, you need to see the truth." Claire sat frozen, the world spinning around her. Her body felt cold, her stomach twisting with nausea. All the little excuses Mark had given her, the late nights, the missed calls, the tired looks, suddenly made sense. He wasn't just busy, he was betraying her. Later that night, when Mark came home, Claire couldn't hold it in any longer. She stood in the living room, holding Jasmine's phone in her hand. "Mark," she said, her voice shaking but firm, "who is she?" Mark's eyes darted to the photo, and for the first time, he didn't try to smile. He looked caught, cornered. "Claire, it's not what you think." Her voice cracked. "Not what I think. You're holding her hand. You're looking at her the way you used to look at me." He reached out, trying to grab her hand, but she pulled back. "Listen, Claire. I didn't mean for this to happen. She's just someone I met at work. Things have been rough between us, and He trailed off, unable to finish. Claire's chest tightened. "So instead of talking to me, you found comfort in someone else? After everything we've built? After everything I've given up for us?" Mark sighed, running his hand through his hair. "I didn't want to hurt you." But the words felt empty, cruel even. Because he already had. In that moment, Claire realized the man she trusted had been lying to her face for weeks, maybe months. Something inside her snapped. Her tears dried, replaced by a fire in her chest. She stared at him, her voice low but steady. "You've destroyed us, Mark. And I don't know if I can ever forgive you." The days that followed were heavy and unbearable. Claire moved through her shifts at the hospital like a shadow, her body present but her mind trapped in endless circles of pain. At home, silence grew thick between her and Mark. He tried to act normal, cooking dinner, asking about her day, pretending nothing had changed. But Claire couldn't forget the picture. Every time she looked at him, she saw the other woman's face. One night, Claire confronted him again. "Are you still seeing her?" she asked quietly. Mark avoided her eyes. "It's over," he said flatly. "I ended it." But something in his voice felt wrong. His words sounded rehearsed, as if he were saying what she wanted to hear. Claire's stomach sank. Trust, once broken, did not come back so easily. Jasmine checked on her every day, sending messages and calling late at night. "You don't deserve this, Claire," she would say. "He's not the man you think he is. You have to be careful." Claire clung to her words like a lifeline, trying to find strength in her best friend's loyalty. But then came another blow. At the hospital cafeteria, a coworker leaned close to Claire and whispered, "I saw Mark yesterday. He wasn't alone." Claire froze, the tray shaking in her hands. "What do you mean?" The coworker looked uncomfortable but continued. "He was with that same woman. They didn't even try to hide it." Claire's chest tightened, and anger replaced the sadness that had weighed her down for days. That night, when Mark came home late again, she demanded the truth. "You said it was over. Why are people still seeing you with her?" Mark's face hardened. "Maybe because I'm tired of feeling unappreciated, Claire. You're always at work, always exhausted. Do you even notice me anymore?" His words hit her like a slap. She stood there, speechless, as he turned the blame onto her. Instead of admitting his betrayal, he made her feel guilty, as if her long hours at the hospital had forced him into another woman's arms. Claire's heart cracked wider. She realized Mark was not just lying, he was manipulating her, twisting the truth to escape his own guilt. That night she cried alone, curled on the bathroom floor, her phone clutched in her hand. She thought of calling Jasmine, but for the first time, doubt crept in. A quiet question whispered inside her. What if Jasmine knew more than she was telling me? And with that thought, the walls around Claire's heart began to crumble even more. Claire could no longer carry the weight of silence. The lies, the doubts, the pain, it was all too much. One Saturday afternoon, she decided it was time to end the pretending. She told Mark to meet her in the living room because they needed to talk. When he walked in, she stood tall, though her hands were shaking. "I know you're still seeing her," she said, her voice steady but low. "Stop lying to me." Mark's jaw tightened. "Claire, you're imagining things. You're letting Jasmine put ideas in your head." At the mention of Jasmine, Claire froze. "What do you mean by that?" Mark gave a bitter laugh. "You think Jasmine is your savior? That she's looking out for you? Claire, open your eyes. She's the one who's been feeding on your pain. Do you even know who that woman is, the one you saw me with?" Claire's stomach twisted. "Who is she?" Mark leaned forward, his voice sharp. "Her name is Renee. And guess what? She's Jasmine's cousin." The word struck Claire like a thunderbolt. She staggered back, her breath quickening. That's not possible." "Oh, it's possible," Mark snapped. "Jasmine knew about us from the start. She played both sides, comforting you while laughing behind your back. You think she's your best friend? She's the reason everything blew up." Claire's heart pounded in her chest. She wanted to deny it, to scream that it wasn't true. But pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The late-night calls, Jasmine's insistence on meeting, the way she always had information before anyone else. Her phone buzzed just then. It was a message from Jasmine. "We need to talk. I have to tell you something important." Claire's hands shook as she held the phone. Tears blurred her vision. She looked at Mark, who stood there with his arms crossed, watching her break. You both betrayed me," she whispered. Mark stepped closer, his voice softening. "I never wanted to hurt you. But maybe Jasmine wanted this all along. Maybe she wanted you for herself, dependent, broken, needing her." The room spun around Claire. The two people she trusted most, her lover and her best friend, were tangled in a web of lies that trapped her. Her chest burned with anger, but also with clarity. She could no longer trust either of them. That moment broke something inside her, but it also woke something stronger, the need to fight for herself, no matter who stood against her. Claire didn't sleep that night. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing with every lie, every secret, every betrayal. By morning, something inside her had shifted. The pain was still there, sharp and heavy, but beneath it grew a quiet strength. She realized she had spent too long waiting for honesty from people who had already chosen to deceive her. When Mark came into the kitchen, acting as if nothing had happened, Claire's voice was calm but firm. "Pack your things. You're leaving today." Mark blinked, confused. "Claire, you don't mean that. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix," she cut him off. "You broke my trust, and I won't let you twist it again. I deserve better." The firmness in her tone left no room for argument. Mark muttered under his breath, but he obeyed. By the afternoon, he was gone, leaving Claire in a silence that felt painful yet freeing. Later that week, Jasmine showed up at Claire's apartment, tears streaming down her face. "Claire, please, I can explain." But Claire didn't let her finish. "You were supposed to protect me, Jasmine. Instead, you stood by while Mark betrayed me. You told me half-truths, kept secrets, and let me believe you were on my side. That's not friendship. That's control." Jasmine reached out, but Claire stepped back. Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled. "I don't hate you. But I can't keep you in my life. Loving people who lie only destroys me, and I refuse to keep breaking myself for anyone." The look on Jasmine's face was one of shock, maybe even guilt, but Claire didn't wait for excuses. She closed the door, her heart heavy but her spirit clearer than it had been in years. In the weeks that followed, Claire focused on herself. She poured her energy into her work, but this time with balance. She took time off, joined a support group for women who had faced betrayal, and slowly, she began to rebuild her sense of worth. For the first time, Claire allowed herself to believe that love should never come with lies, and friendship should never come with chains. She learned that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is walk away, even when their heart still aches. And though the road ahead was uncertain, Claire felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: peace. One quiet evening, weeks after everything had fallen apart, Claire sat alone on the balcony of her apartment. The city lights stretched out before her, soft and distant, like stars scattered across the ground. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't waiting for a message, a call, or footsteps at the door. She was simply breathing, existing, healing. The pain of betrayal was still there, but it no longer controlled her. Instead, it had become a lesson carved deep inside her heart. She realized she had been holding on to people who never truly valued her, and in doing so, she had forgotten her own worth. Now, piece by piece, she was finding it again. Her phone buzzed on the table. It was a message from Jasmine. "I'm sorry. I miss you." Claire looked at it for a long time, then slowly set the phone back down without replying. Some doors, once closed, should stay closed. She took a sip of her tea and let the night air wrap around her. The city was loud, full of stories, full of people, full of chances to begin again. And though her heart still carried scars, it also carried strength. She had walked through the fire and survived. Claire whispered softly to herself, "I'm enough." It wasn't a scream or a grand declaration, just a quiet truth she finally believed. For years, she had given her best to others, waiting for their love to prove her value. But now she knew, her value had been inside her all along. And as she sat beneath the night sky, she smiled, not because everything was perfect, but because she had chosen herself.